Okay, hi everybody. We are live. Thank you all for joining. It's really amazing to have you all here, and thank you. I really appreciate you all taking the time to join me and talk about remote work. Hopefully, people who are watching this gonna find this useful, gonna learn something, and maybe in the future apply to their business. You all for joining. It's really Debbie, you're muted. Can you do you guys hear echo or something?
Yeah, I heard an echo, so I
You
was
heard an echo?
impersonating it.
Okay, cool. Let me check. Maybe it's yeah. Sorry, I was watching on a different monitor. It's gonna be fine now, right? Great. Before we start, I'm gonna let everybody introduce themselves. I'm gonna start with you, Debbie. You're first on my screen. So we start with you, and then we go from left to right. Okay?
Okay. Hi, I'm Debbie Levitt. I'm an American living in Italy. Yes, I'm fine. Thanks for asking. I've been a CX and UX strategist, designer, speaker, trainer, author since 1995. And I've been working remotely since mostly 1995. So I have a lot of things to say about that. That's back when we were a virtual company and people were telecommuting and we had other words for it. And by the way, in Italy, the word for remote working is smart working. They say that in English. That's Italian for remote working. So we should be doing that. So find me on LinkedIn and follow me.
Great. Thank you. I will, once we're done, I'm going to add all of your contact infos at the bottom of the video. So whoever wants to find any of you, they're going to be able to. So now we go to Roman. You're next.
Hi, everybody. I'm Roman. I've been working remotely for 15 years, mostly in the areas of talent ops and talent acquisition and community. So I'll be more than happy to share a lot of my experience tonight, and I hope you're going to enjoy this talk.
Great. Just a little side note. I met Roman actually when I started working for TopTel as a community leader in Croatia, and we've known each other for a long time. And I will do my best not to tell any embarrassing stories. Okay.
Please don't. I'll keep yours a secret.
Thank you. Next we have Kieran. Kieran, please go.
Hi, I'm Kieran. I am describe myself as a blockchain entrepreneur, consultant, engineer. I've been working remote basically for my entire career since I graduated from university in July. And so I've done quite a lot. So I worked on a startup idea and we went to Web Summit and presented that. I was working with my co-founder remotely in Canada. We're doing quite a lot of consulting work entirely remotely. I've never worked in an office. And I feel like remote working is the future, but it's really underrated because I've spent my entire career working remotely, basically. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And Supriya, you're next.
Hi everyone, I'm Supriya, and I'm a product manager, and I have developed a physical products as well as softwares for different companies, different startups. And I have been working remotely and part-time on different projects, I would say for 7 or 8 years now. And I have used different tools and techniques to be in line with my team and to communicate. And probably that's the best I can share with you all today. That's me.
Great, thank you. Mario, you're next.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mario. I've been working primarily remotely since 2013. I'm a full stack developer focusing on Microsoft technologies on the back end, Angular on the front end. Enjoy working remotely, enjoy working with teams, enjoy paying attention to processes and communication in remote work, and enjoying and participating in talks like this with such an amazing crowd. So Tom, thanks for having me here.
Great, thank you for joining us. David, you're next.
Hi everybody, my name is David, Frenchman living in London. I co-founded Indie Club Wisdom, so it's a community for independent people, self-employed, freelancers, small business owners, people who are bootstrapping their own software. And I'm also the founder of a growth marketing agency we help companies find new business in their strategy. And I've been working fully remotely for a year almost now, but it's my first week working from home, and that's something I have more troubles with.
Great. I'm going to ask you about the troubles of working from home once we get to that point. Jelka, you go.
Hi, so I'm copywriter and content writer. I work remotely for years, 10 plus years, on and off with some project in between. My interest, beside, of course, marketing and marketing writing, are kids and education. I recently wrote and published children's novel, which is now, of course, outside of the interest of the public, since we have more important and acute things to do. And one of my interests in this whole drama is how to handle kids, handle family life, as we are all working remotely. So that's it.
Great. Mike, you are next.
Hi guys, nice to meet you all. Name's Mike Bowman. I've worked over my career in large companies, small companies, and also for a venture capitalist. And I now find myself working for an accounting and business support company, which is entirely virtual, all the way from Uruguay to the Philippines in the other direction. And I think this is fascinating, what makes it work or not work. And I think this current crisis will all be doing a lot more remote working and virtual companies going forward.
Great, thank you. Next, we have Tomislav Tsapan, and another Tomislav.
Hi. So yeah, my name is Tomislav as well. I've been remote since started my own company back in 2008 and migrated to doing freelance consulting in 2011. So over 10 years, 9 years of remote consulting, doing software engineering, architecture, and also cloud infrastructure for the last 2 years. That's about it.
Great, thank you. Also, a little side note for Tomislav. He was one of the first people I actually worked with together on a project with our remote clients. So he's one of the people that I learned a lot from when we started, and I'm going to circle back to that. Annie, you're next. Annie was a bit late, so you didn't have the chance to introduce him, but so he's going to introduce himself now.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks for the invite. So yeah, I'm an agile delivery manager / scrum master, and I've worked at companies that promote flexible remote working, working with product development teams and data engineering teams. So for me, it's just really happy to be here and to listen to kind of all the tips and hints you guys all kind of give on working remotely, considering the kind of current climate we're all in at the moment. So yeah, here to learn.
Thank you, Annie. I worked with Annie last year, and I know that he manages a team offshore and abroad, and he's going to be sharing a little bit about that as well. And now we have Michael. Michael, you're last, so do the thing.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is R. Michael Anderson. I started as a programmer and then worked my way up the corporate ladder. And then I founded, scaled, and sold a couple of my software companies in California. And it's funny because we had some of the first remote workers way back a long time ago when, I don't want to say first, but when it sort of started to become mainstream with Citrix and things before terminal servers came. I think Microsoft bought that that technology from terminal servers from Citrix to make it terminal server. And now what I do is I teach leadership to technology people like Salesforce, Uber, Microsoft bring me in to train their leaders. And a couple of years ago, I sold all my stuff. I've been working like a nomad and without a home. And that's where I met Tomislav and Zlenka and some people in Croatia. And a couple of you ladies had really cool backgrounds. I don't know how to do that background thing, but you have to send me an email or a chat on how to do those cool backgrounds back there. So I've had actually remote workers, and I've been a remote worker as well. And now now that all these things are going on, I also have to not only work at home, but I also have a little dog and a 9-year-old stepson that's a bit of a, you want to say hi, Isaac? So he's home, and so we're balancing some school and getting outside and all those different things, and he's been amazing. My wife's been amazing, but it's taken a new level of communication and responsibility. And if we want to interview him in a couple minutes, he's available for an interview.
How the kids today are hating the parents that are constantly home.
It's I think a couple other people on here that have kids. It's a whole other dimension, because we want to make sure we give them the attention. Then there's all these meetings and things, and I think we're at the beginning of it, though. It's been so good so far.
Yeah, I think we're gonna touch on the kids part at some point. I know Jake sent an email to everybody, but I will circle back to that at one point for sure. Okay, now everybody got introduced. Thank you. I was thinking, so we're gonna be using the raise hand button. I don't know where it is. I had it before, and now I just see a clap and thumbs up. I don't know. So one of those things, and you guys try to do one of the things. Okay, it's like whatever, and then I will try to go in some sort of order so everybody gets a chance to speak. And I would like to kick off with people who are working at home. Let's just talk about your setup and how do you actually communicate to your people at home and people you live with. That you are actually working so you don't get interrupted, and how do you concentrate? So let's start with that and just go from there. Who wants to go first?
Well, I guess
okay.
I can jump into that.
Debbie said first. Sorry.
Debbie said first. Go, Debbie.
Debbie goes first.
Hi. So you mean like what my gear and equipment are?
Yeah, like how did you set up your working environment since you're home? Not like you're fairly experienced in working from home, but let's say that you're not. How would you advise to somebody to set up working environment so it's not distracting and it's comfortable, and especially for people who are working from home as a new thing?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I believe very strongly in a desk, an ergonomic chair, a good keyboard, a good mouse. I think one mistake people make is they set up in the living room or in the dining room at the table where they eat, and they find that they're typing kind of like this, and then they end up with all kinds of arm and back pain. And so I do believe in investing in a decent desk and keyboard and things like that. I believe in investing in a good headset. I tried some of the gaming headsets, and they didn't really sound right. So I've ended up with this Sennheiser SC630, not sponsored, hashtag not sponsored. But I do recommend it. I just upgraded my camera. My old camera was sad and old. This is the Logitech C922X, but now it's not on Amazon, so I don't know what happened to it. But good camera, I think, is important. It does a little touch up, which really helps me. And a hoodie, because then you have no idea what I have on under it. So and lots of camo pants. So for my setup, now I am in a large room, and I share the home office with my boyfriend. I would say this is probably 400 square feet or 40 square meters. And he's usually right there, and there isn't a divider between us. So really the only juggling we have to do is, he takes a lot of calls on his phone, and I take a lot of calls from this headset. So right now he's on a call, so he went into the bedroom. So other than that, we do have to juggle who's going to be in this room because we're both loud. But I purposefully have no children, so I can't really speak to that aspect of it. But I would say, without going into some of the fancier aspects of my setup, just invest in the good stuff. It's going to last you years. I bought my keyboard in 2013. Like, keyboards can last a long time. Get the good stuff. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I agree. Before I give mic to Roman, I just want to say I also invested in really good Sennheisers and a mic, and it's been a really big changer. And I do have a good gaming rig, but I don't use it for working. When speaking with people, try to be on.
Debbie, how do you do that cool background?
I bought a kit off Amazon that is a set of lights that you can't see. I've got a set of lights on me, and this is a green screen. And Zoom has a green screen functionality where it will replace the green screen with either a stock photo or a photo that you chose. And the background image kind of matches my book branding, so that this is what I use to have subtle book branding.
Okay.
Very cool. Very.
Yeah.
Okay, go Roman.
Yeah, I agree with David that it's crucial to have the right chair. You don't have to spend too much. You can use something from IKEA. This is IKEA Marcus, works perfectly for my broken back. My desk is here for probably almost 10 years. It was an old office desk, and when that company went under, I just bought it from them for a couple of dimes. It was ridiculously cheap. But the biggest investment I did was refurbishing one room completely to serve for the purpose of work. I've seen a lot of people trying, to work from a couch, from their bed, etc., and they're actually in that way, associating their bed with work, so they sleep worse. Or sometimes in the kitchen when they work, it's a little bit too noisy, so they can't focus on the meetings, etc. So besides having pretty good ergonomic equipment, please always make sure that you also have a quiet room where you can work on your own. And when it comes to headset, I'm shamelessly going to advertise it. This is not a headset for meetings. My Sennheiser battery is out, so I'm using my Nuras, which are awesome for listening to music.
Okay, before I would like to pass the mic to someone who actually has kids and lives in a big household, maybe Michael, but I'm not sure if you want to talk about the kid while he's there. And Mario, I know you have a small kid. Mario raised his hand, but I just wanted to say when we closed down our first company and moved from our office back to where I was living back then with my parents and my girlfriend, I had to have a serious talk where I needed to make clear to everybody, just because I am in the house does not mean that I am home. So it was when I was working, I would close the door of my home office, and it meant while the doors are closed, if the house is not burning, I'm not there. And don't ask me just to do something because it breaks my focus. Everybody knows that it takes a lot of time to refocus back on what you were doing, and it just breaks the concentration. So it was a conversation. It wasn't just one conversation. It happened multiple times, but at some point they caught on. But like Debbie, I don't have kids, but maybe Mario can speak to that.
So yeah, actually, I wanted to repeat a couple of things that you said here. So not going into the office and working, but working remotely doesn't mean that you shouldn't have an office. You should have a space. This is my space. This is my workspace, and this is where I work. And ideally, if you have a bigger apartment, then you can afford a room to have it. If not, you can afford a section or something. But one place where you are, and then other people from your household know that you are at work and that you are not there, just like Tom said. So we have two small kids. Our daughter is 3, our son is 1.5. And it's pretty tricky, especially now with the Corona situation, when they shut down kindergartens. So they're both at home and craving for attention. But basically, we are trying to teach them that one room is an office, and that when mom or dad are there, that they are working and shouldn't be interrupted. And exactly like Tom said, because it's break focus and breaks everything. Another point I wanted to mention is also touching on what Roman said. So if you have a dedicated place for work, it's good that it's quiet. It's good that it looks professional. It's generally good because sometimes you want to hop on a video call and then you don't want to have, I don't know, something unprofessional looking on the background, some crazy photos, something that might disturb somebody else. You want a nice clear background. You want a nice clear space. You want a nice room where you can focus. You want to always be heard, always be able to hear everybody. So having a separate space is, in my opinion, very important.
Okay, great. Anybody wants to add something to this?
Yeah, I think when it comes to having kids, it's also, you want to leave your work in the work office. It can be, you don't want work to follow you everywhere around the house. So I think that you want to be cognizant to make sure family time is family time, not half family time and half you hopping on the computer type time.
Oh yeah, of course. Supriya, you raised your hand?
Yeah. I just want to add a couple of things because the company that I'm running now, It's called Switcheroo. And what we do is we customize office spaces and different spaces, like cocooning spaces, by arts. And just as you see, the backdrop, when I work, I usually use this. I'm just trying to get this one. So whenever I have like the office mood, and I create moods for work by choosing different backdrops, and the people around me know by just looking at the backdrop, like what kind of work I'm doing, whether they can disturb me or not, whether they can ask me some question in between or not. So that's like a visual cue for them and for me as well.
Okay.
That's it.
So this is some kind of screen or something behind you?
No, it's just a virtual background. So if you go at the bottom of your Zoom, you have like more options to add visual backgrounds or virtual backgrounds, basically. So I choose them because I do a psychological study.
Okay.
Art influences your work and vice versa. So I'm into this thing, if you like.
Mm-hmm.
In creating
really
different
cool.
zones within a
it looks
room.
cool. It looks really
Yeah.
cool.
Thank you.
Mario, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, just one thing. So today I came across an article written by Brendan Benishot. I've worked with him remotely in TopTal before, and now he has another remote company where he basically opens up a topic on working remotely and having kids, and the fact that if you're working from home, your kid actually sees you, then by looking at you and by seeing you actually work, they also, during that time, they want to imitate their parents, so they kind of develop their own working habits, and that there are studies that show that as a plus and so on. So Tomislav will probably be able to find the link and paste it somewhere, like there, or I don't know, somewhere. So take a look at the article. It's a very interesting read.
Yeah.
I got a link from you on the email today. I will be sharing it everywhere later. Mike, please go.
Yeah, so just following on from the idea of different backgrounds, I tend to wander around the house to do different tasks. So you sit at your desk, just like everybody else. You have your office, do spreadsheet work and things like that. You pick up the phone and wander around the house to answer the phone calls, and maybe go and sit in a comfy chair to answer the emails. So just variety, really.
Yeah, that's true. I agree. I work in this room when I'm working on the actual computer, but when I need to do phone calls or something, I put on my headphones and just walk around the house and try to get my steps in, especially now with Corona. Especially now. I counted the steps that I have in the house. It's 36 steps, so I'll be trying to running up and down the house in next. I'm going nuts. Sorry. Okay. Let's say that we're done with this topic.
I actually like one more thing I was going to say, Tom. Like walking around the house is really important because like for me, I don't really care about like ergonomics equipment. I just work from my laptop. It's not even a very big laptop. But one thing I do have is a pull-up bar, especially when you can't leave the house. Being able to do exercise is probably the most important thing for me right now.
Of course. Not worrying about the back comment coming from a guy in his 20s.
Yeah, but I was listening to all of you having all this equipment and having dedicated space. So a little bit different voice. So for me, being freelancer is also being free to choose where I'll be working from. So when I go to nature or in some cafe bar or whatever, that I think that is for me a special treat. So I basically have equipment, I have my desk and chair and everything, but I rarely use it. So I also love to change place and yeah.
So would you say that you can easily concentrate when you go to a cafe or even to I don't see myself working in nature. I tried taking your laptop on a beach, as all of the advertisements for remote work usually look like, with a guy with a laptop on a beach, and it doesn't work. And anybody who tried that knows that you can't see nothing on your screen because of the sun. But can you really concentrate when you're in the nature?
It depends. Like if I have some really, really complicated project and I'm not really concentrated, then I will probably use some of more business-like environments I have. But most of projects I work on, I really love them. They're energizing for me. And basically, writing is the easiest part. The hardest part is, of course, research. So maybe I will do research on my desk with paper, with printer and stuff like that. And when I have to write, then it's a really good place to go. Like there is a lake in Zagreb and there are cafe bars. So lake and cafe bar combined with some shade. Of course, you cannot see the screen if it's too sunny. That's perfect setting for me. Yeah, I can do work like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm gonna mention what Kieran, Supriya, and a couple other people that I actually met yesterday shared with me was one of the doesn't matter who it doesn't matter, but one of the interesting information that they shared was that some people in some companies have problems with when they just now started working at home and they feel they are actually less productive and they don't know how to approach being more productive. They feel like at home they are more hindered than at work. So what do you guys can somebody talk about how do you actually get yourself to be more focused on work? And sorry, I just now saw that you raised your hand. Do you want to add something before?
I was actually just going to say, leaning on from the point you just made, that's one of the things I personally struggled with in the past, trying to be as productive at home than I am in the office. And that's what I was kind of going to throw out to you guys as well. Aside from, your desk and the actual things you have and you buy, how else can you remain focused and productive at home, separate from, having a separate room or, buying a nice chair or et cetera, et cetera? How else can you get yourself focused?
Who wants to? Roman. Okay, Roman, go first.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the point is, I don't care. So maybe to back up a little bit. So I started my career as a QA guy. Basically, I was testing software, and it made me travel all around the world. And sometimes it was really difficult to sit somewhere in Moscow, St. Petersburg, or down in Chile, with all of my equipment, and getting focused on the work. So I started asking myself, why am I a little bit more passionate in the office than I am when I'm traveling abroad? And I realized that actually I'm equally passionate. I just need to pull myself out a little bit and start my morning, with some healthy exercise, doing something fun I like. And immediately after that, my energy jumps. And I start performing as soon as I sit behind my computer, my equipment, and start doing my work. It's like, Zhelka, I love your routine. I guess that you're speaking about Yarun Lake. And I'm very sorry never to have seen you there because I'm there virtually every morning, doing my morning exercise, and then I go to Zhirapa to have my cup of mint tea. And sometimes I even bring my laptop with my equipment and rather enjoy it. So I think most of the people, before they start their working day, need to give themselves a little bit of fun. For me, it's going to be cycling. It's going to be doing some calisthenics, having a nice breakfast. And then at some point, I'm going to be ready to perform for 6 hours in a row without any issues. So for me, it's reward myself, do something useful for myself, and then, realize how much passion do I have for my work, for my company, and just get in there.
Yeah, I agree, because for me, I also start my mornings, like my routine starts with everything that I want to do in the morning before work, starting with, having coffee, reading a bit of book, going to the gym, doing my workout, coming home, taking a shower, and then I start work. I try to aim to be at my desk around 10 and be finished by 6 to kind of clock in 8 hours. Everybody who works from home knows that you don't have 8 hours of straight, solid, concentrated work. But I try to be in the work mindset around that time, because like my wife works for the whole day, so I have the house to myself and I can basically concentrate and in complete silence do whatever I want. But one of the things that I wanted to mention is I used Pomodoro technique a lot, and one of the things that the technique mentions is that you need to be wary of the outside interrupters, like phone calls or whatever, but inside interrupters as well. And for me, those when I don't feel like working and when I start to procrastinate, I will go, get out of my office and then go just grab a glass of water 5 times in an hour, just to and it was a process for me to identify in those internal blockers that happen and then start to manage them. And it took a while, especially when I took I had an app for like tracking how much time you spend on each window, and I could see that I'm working on something for 20 minutes and I just like automatically open a Facebook window or Twitter or whatever, and then I got a Chrome extension that basically blocks everything. So when you actually get blocked, then you realize, oh my god, I actually opened this 30 times per hour. It's just an instinct that goes there. So now I have a screen that tells me, hey asshole, go back to work. Literally, you can write whatever you wanted to say. So I say to myself, I'm an asshole, and then just go back to work. And one of the things that I also try to do is, I don't know about you guys, I'm happy to hear what you think, is before I always had my inbox open. So whenever a mail would come in, I would read my mail. So now I try to structure it in a way where I read the email before I start working and then in the afternoon. And during the day, I don't read an email, don't read any notifications apart, some like private stuff like WhatsApp that it's basically only for my family and close friends. So anything apart that, I try to steer clear of while I'm working.
I have to say that having kids, is it my turn or?
It's your turn, then we're gonna have Mario after you. Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay. So I have kids and they have their needs. So basically, I have to fit in work and during the time when they're in school. So basically, I give them breakfast, spend some time with them, so it's pleasant and it's something for me also. And when they go to school, when they used to go to school, so this is ancient history now. It seems so. I take some time, I work, and I try to be as productive as I can. And after the lunch, as they are working their homework and stuff like that, I try to finish everything I have. So I basically divide the most productive time during the morning when they're alone at home, and then some phone calls or some reading or some lighter stuff or maybe some bureaucracy. That is something that I will leave after the lunch when kids are at home. And of course, I guess every freelancer takes some time and works in the afternoon and the night when there is some necessity or when we're working on our projects. So that's something that I also try to do after my family obligations are all set up.
Great, thanks. Mario?
Am I muted? Yes.
No, you're not. You're good.
I'm good. Okay, so just wanted to point out a few things. The thing you mentioned about email, I also used to do that, like keep my inbox open, and then every now and then I get an email and I was like, woo, I'm so popular, I'm getting emails. No. So like do it maybe 2-3 times a day, 4 times a day, just say, okay, now after I finish my task, I'm going to open up the email, not before. If it's something really urgent, somebody would get a hold of you in a different way. So usually emails can wait at least like an hour or two before everything is done. And regarding the kids' family, so I think we are all new to the situation of working remote with kids, because I don't know about the rest of the world, but in Croatia, kindergartens closed down last Monday, so we have exactly 7 days of experience. And for us, it's tricky because both my wife and myself are now working remotely. We have 2 small toddlers. We don't have any grandma or grandpa service or anything like that. So basically, we see each other's schedule, and then it's okay, my turn to work a couple of hours, you watch the kids, your turn to work a couple of hours, I'll watch the kids, and so on. But basically we try to use the most from the time they're asleep. So evenings, afternoons, we have to push ourselves to be highly productive, and during the day it's kind of juggling depending on whose schedule is worse.
Yeah.
Or better, depending how you wanna approach that.
Okay, so regarding that, one of my next question was, how do you plan and structure your day? So, like, everybody here is mostly experienced, but let's say you're not. How would you approach structuring your day? Do you plan it one day ahead, or do you do it in the morning, or how do you go about setting up priorities and then concentrating on what's important? One of the questions that I had a couple of months ago that I tweeted and was, let's say that you have 8 hours of work and that you have one big task that will take 4 hours and you have 4 smaller tasks that will take 4 hours. What would you prioritize? One big task and then 4 smaller, or you would go to tackle the smaller tasks first and then on a bigger one? So how would you approach that? And whoever, Debbie raised her hand first and then Roman. So you, Debbie, go.
Roman was actually first.
Oh, Roman was first. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll go second.
Okay, go, Roman.
Okay, so the question for me is actually, which of the tasks do I hate the most? What do I really want to get rid of, and not have on my mind for the rest of the day? So whatever that is, that gets sorted first. And usually what I dislike doing most are emails, and I made all people aware, reach me on Slack, don't do emails, do anything else, just don't do emails. And prioritizing tasks in a different way goes by, urgency. How can I help and unblock other people around me, especially my team, and let them do their work so I can have 30 minutes or an hour, a couple of hours of peace and quiet without anybody disturbing me, so I can knock out that big piece of cake that needs to be sorted out. But as you mentioned earlier, of course, there are times, when you need to use those Pomodoro techniques, when you need to figure out when your brain is not really in a focused mode and how to relax for 15 or 20 minutes. And there you always need to have a little bit of a hobby that's going to help you. It doesn't matter if it's like playing a game for 15 to 30 minutes, or, I like going to kitchen and chopping some veggies, or do whatever, so that the brain goes from a focus mode to defocused when you're solving problems basically in the background, coming back to the computer and suddenly finding solutions that you couldn't envision before.
Yeah, I agree. Go, Debbie.
Oh.
You're not muted. You're good.
Okay, thanks. The way that I would answer your question about the long task and the short tasks, it's about getting to know yourself and determining when you have the best energy, because I'm a morning person and other people are night people. So I do my best work from 8 in the morning till about 3 p.m. and then I start falling apart. My boyfriend does his best work from 6 p.m. to midnight-ish. So sometimes we're ships in the night, but I think you just have to plan it based on when you have the most energy. So I would probably do the longer task first, because I'd be awake with lots of energy and ready to attack it, and then maybe kind of break my afternoon into little pieces, like do an hour task, go out and talk to my dogs, do an hour task, have a small piece of chocolate. So I think it's about, and even the 4-hour task, I might be 2 hours, go talk to the dogs, 2 hours. So I had one dog here. She was talking to me before. Now she's out. And then the other 4 live in the pen, large pen on the property. So it's a dog universe here, but not a kid universe. So I would probably say just get to know when you have the best energy and go by that. I'm allergic to caffeine, so I have to just give it my all when I've got my most energy, because when I run out of energy, I can't do anything to add more. So it's about knowing yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay. It was Kieran and then it was Mario, I think. Let's go with Kieran first.
Actually, I find that really interesting, your point about like finding the right time of day to work, because like for me, like especially after going to university when there's no one there to tell you when to go to bed, I kind of discovered like my most productive hours were actually between midnight and 4 o'clock in the morning, which actually sounds horrendous. And that's actually like quite funny, because I mean I grew up in a family where like remote working is the norm. So my dad does a lot of outsourcing work, so he has calls with Sri Lanka that's like 5 hours ahead of the UK, so he'd be having those calls like 4 o'clock in the morning. So I'm kind of like used to people working at really different times of the day. And like I think, yeah, it's about finding the right time of day to work, right? Because if I'm working between midnight and 4, everyone is asleep. And that's perfect because I get distracted really easily and there's no notifications on my phone at that time of day, like zero. Right? But at the same time, like, it's one of those where you have to have like a healthy kind of like sleeping pattern based on like when you're having your meetings during the day. So like for me, if I was having meetings with people in Canada, Canada's 5 hours behind, so having that kind of sleeping pattern was not too bad. But it's kind of like if you're having meetings during the day with people in your time zone, you have to kind of bear that in mind. You need to make sure to like not sleep at odd hours and work just because you feel like it. You need to kind of like balance that structure out as well.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to add to that once Mario goes and then Annie goes, and then I'm going to wrap it up. So Mario.
Just wanted to say that I like Roman's approach, and it's pretty much Debbie's approach to do the most difficult / most annoying / the thing you hate the most first. And there's a great book called Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. So something that discusses the topic. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's an easy read, and it's.
I'm writing it down, and we're gonna add it to the site later. Yeah.
Yep, and it also kind of gives good tips on how not to procrastinate.
Yeah.
There is. Who is? I'm a bit lost with order. I would love to add something, but I know. Is there some?
If it's short, add, and then we're gonna go to Annie. Don't worry, and then Supriya, you're raising hand.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go Jelka, Annie, and then Supriya.
Okay, so there is one system, I don't know, do you know about it? It's called Getting Things Done by David Allen. I was reading about it, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. It helped me with my MA thesis and all the things that I was working back then. And I kind of integrated that. I'm not using all the elements of the system. I'm just relying on the basic concepts. And it's really helpful. Understanding that you can group some tasks that are not high priority, that can you just do in some lower energy time of the day, while you can really nicely make lists or chunks with things that should be done in a certain context, so that you don't have to go online for email, I don't know, 7 or 8 times, that you can do it once a day. So if somebody has a lot of projects and needs something to really be well organized, I would suggest GTD. So
yeah, it's a great book.
Yeah,
I read it a long time ago, and it's really good. Annie, go.
Yeah, so for my sort of role, it's kind of being a scrum master, kind of being a servant leader. It's kind of key that, you know, my team, you know, everyone's aware of what they need to do. They're on block. So my developers and my QA engineers, they're all kind of ticking along nicely. So I kind of prioritize them at the start of the day for me. So yeah, just ensure everyone's clear on what's required, if they need me to help them with anything. And then once everyone's kind of got into their kind of rhythm and flow mid-morning, then I can go and do my kind of 8-hour long project or whatever it is I'm working on, just to ensure that everyone's clear on what they need to do. So yeah, I kind of prioritize everyone. And then also, as I said, once they're in their kind of flow, I try to stick to the same kind of routine I have in the office. So every couple of hours, get up and go for a drink of water, you know, just to kind of stay in the same sort of rhythm. Because I think that's what kind of helps me personally, you know, that kind of familiarity with my schedule kind of, you know, helps despite being at home and not in the office. Just trying to mimic as much as possible what I normally do helps me personally to be productive. So yeah, start off with the smaller tasks and then get on to the longer projects.
Yeah, I agree. I like the idea of unblocking others, so they can work, and then you do whatever you need to do. Supriya, you were raising your hand.
Yeah, sure. I completely agree with Annie, because I work as a product manager, so a lot of work is like prioritizing tasks for others. However, like for most of us, the challenge is to find that time for ourselves. So I practice something which is called a holiday for yourself every day, which is like your own time. It could be 30 minutes, it could be 15 minutes, depending on the time that you have for yourself. Basically, you switch off all the devices for that time. You don't talk to anyone. You just do something for yourself in that time. And this, I have been practicing the mindfulness for a year now. And this is the most powerful time of my day, I would say.
Do you do that during the working hours? Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
Do you do that during the working hours or after?
It could be anywhere, whenever I find that 30 minutes, you know. It could be in the beginning of the day when I'm running, I just feel the breeze, I feel my feet touching the grasses, or it could be when I'm eating, I'm just eating, I'm not watching Netflix, I'm not doing anything else stupid. I'm just trying to feel how it feels like eating, how the food is going down the esophagus, and all those things.
So
it sounds completely,
mindfulness,
you know,
mindful
bullshit
eating.
in the
No,
beginning
it's
when
not
I started
bullshit.
practicing it. But honestly, it's something really powerful when you start practicing it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really good to practice. Like I meditate in the morning. I do watch Netflix when I eat or something, but it's just. But where I agree with mindfulness, it helps structure your day, and I plan my entire day in the morning, just thinking of what I want to do, and it did help a lot. When I was when like years ago when I started out, my whole routine was fairly different because I was, like some of you mentioned, I was working in the nights, and it was easy for me to work from 7 p.m. to like 2 a.m. I was in my creative mode when I was designing, and then during the day we would be doing like clients and meetings or emails or everything else. So, but it changes. So one of the main things that I learned was to keep up with the changes that happen in my life, and they change within, like with me, with my living situation. So to adapt. At this point, I work during the day because it's my most peaceful time. But for example, yesterday my wife went to bed around 10:30, and I just came to my computer and continued where I left off because I had more energy, didn't want to go back to bed. So I just used the energy that I have. But if I feel that I have the energy, I'm just going to be working. So it kind of feels good. So yeah, Annie, you have your hand up. Did you want to say something or no? Okay, sorry. So Jelika has
I left it up.
It's fine. Okay, Jelika, go.
Yeah, for me, I don't know what is the situation from other people in other people's life, but I'm more productive when I'm working at home. Since I'm in marketing, I was working for agencies. I was working for the clients directly, and there has been a lot of disruptions. My days were very stressful, not because marketing is stressful in itself, but it was about very hectic and chaotic changes in briefs and interruptions, and then comes designer, and then comes performer, marketer, then comes boss, and I was really struggling to organize so that I can have several hours to be concentrated on one task. So I believe that many remote workers will find out that they are actually going to be more productive when they get a simple brief or task to do without all these interruptions that are not necessary for the business, but they're just convenient. You know, you have a colleague, you're a bit bored, or you're not sure what to do, and it's very easy to go and to interrupt somebody. So I really appreciate this home office privilege.
Yeah, I have a question based on this for Mike. Mike, I know that you mentioned that you have a company and you have a lot of workers. How would you structure tasks for your team? So would it be like one big task and then, or you would chop them up for them? So how would you approach that?
I think everybody just knows what to do in terms of work comes, or we have a client and there's a process. So we're an accounting company. So we do people's books, we file their returns, we help them with business support. So all that's done on there's a monthly cycle or a 3-monthly cycle, and people just know sort of what they have to do. It doesn't actually take much project management in a way. We use Slack, and we have various channels in the Slack. So for each client has a channel for themselves, and then there's general team updates and things like that. It works very smoothly, mainly because people are motivated. So you don't have to go and say, why haven't you done this? Whatever. And then when a problem comes up, you share it on Slack and people come up with an answer. It's bizarrely a well-motivated company with 11 of us in it. I think if we got to 20, we might have a different set of problems.
Yeah, I would love to see like how you built your process at some point. Like how did you transfer from, how did you build it from we are now in the office environment, and then how did it went to completely online at some point? Not today, but hopefully you will have a chance to share. I would really like to hear the story. One of the things that I would like to ask is when you work with a lot of people, how do you, when you're not in the office environment, how do you keep people, like Mike said, motivated, but how do you reward them and kind of keep them engaged? I know that sometimes it feels when you're home alone working, and it feels that you're alone and you're missing that like human component, that you can interact with other people. Not everybody has the the drive, or just not everybody does that, like, oh hey, what are you doing, or kind of keeps that personal connections going. One of the things that we had in one of the previous companies was fuck ups channel in Slack, where you will screw up something at some point. That's a fact. But we had a channel where you can actually share what did you do wrong and what went wrong, or what happened, what was the problem, and what was your fault and how did you mess up. And then we would have like weekly voting, and who had the biggest mess up would either get like either a day off or Amazon Watch or whatever. So I think it was a great thing, the fuck ups channel, especially when we can make fun with that. So I would like to hear like any of your experiences in that regard. I don't know why Mario is laughing so hard. So you go first.
Motivating making a mess with the day off, I'm not sure would work in Croatian companies, at least.
Yeah.
I use that maybe as a bad example, but maybe somebody else. David? Yeah.
Yeah, I think first things first, you have to be able to find the right team of people that you're confident they can work remotely as well, because we speak about remote work for an hour, but it's not very easy for anyone to be able to work remotely. And I built my model around working with freelancers all around Europe. And I think the first thing I was looking for in them is accountability and reliability. And I think it's all about the individual you work with, in the sense you need to be able to really trust the people you work with in order for the whole remote working model to be efficient. And that's the main thing, I think.
Okay, so currently a lot of people are being made to work from home that basically do not work from home usually, or that are not remote workers. So how do you make sure that they are on point and still performing and stay motivated?
I realize we have a context, but it's difficult. I think it's going to be difficult for a lot of people. And if you want to take things further at the individual level, maybe people will realize that they don't want to work in the specific company because the whole environment is not as nice as it is. Because when you work remotely, you're actually just focused on working and not focused on the external environment, because as we all said, we create our own environments. So perhaps individuals will understand as well that they have to create their own environment too.
Yeah, I think Debbie raised her hand first. So no, Roman. I don't see Roman is covered by my mic, so sorry, Roman. Roman, in that case, go first.
Yeah, so I'm working in remote companies for ages, and we sold this very early on. I'm not the type of a team leader that likes to micromanage. I love everybody having their own little projects and working for at least an hour a day on something that they actually want to work on, explore what they love to do. And the only thing that I ask them to create their own folder in Write. And there are many tools such as Write, so I can understand what kind of projects are they working on, what are they spending their time on, and can I learn something from it, improve our internal processes. And this is something done mostly by most of the team completely voluntarily. And we have regular catch-ups at least 3 times a week to understand, who has which challenges, what are the blockers, and of course there are tools such as Slack where anybody can immediately raise their hand at Roman and say, look, dude, drop everything you have. I need your help. It's pretty simple. We just need to communicate when we're in the mood, when we're not in the mood, when we need help, etc. So everybody can focus and pitch in where it's mostly needed.
Okay, Debbie.
Yeah, I'm not a micromanager either, but I think depending upon what type of work you do, we all have deadlines. I mean, if you are an engineer, you've done your sprint planning. You know what you're working on this week. People expect you to get that done. If that's not getting done, then we have a problem. We might have a productivity or efficiency problem or a distraction problem. So where you've done your planning, if you're planning by the week or sprint or something else, if people aren't meeting those deadlines, and that doesn't mean you stand over them every hour and go, what are you doing now? What are you doing now? Don't do that. Everyone will hate you. But, even obviously, if you're doing a daily stand up, then there would be some sort of question, especially for people new to working from home is, are you getting things done in the time in which you expected to get it done? Are you going faster? Are you going slower? I had one potential client tell me today, he needs more stuff for his developers to do because now that they're not commuting and taking extra long lunch breaks, they have 6 to 10 hours in their week. And he's like, help me find something for them to do. I'm like, oh, happily. So now that doesn't mean we want to overwork people or give them more hours than we're paying them for. But I think that if we just continue in a good process of planning by the week, by the sprint, by whatever block of time makes sense to your project or team, and we check in with people, especially those new to working from home regularly, we can see if anybody is struggling. The end.
Okay, thank you. Annie.
I think let me just quickly put my hand down. Sorry.
Right.
I think for me, there's a couple of things I'd like to say about this. So the first one I'd say is kind of work from home is to some extent it's like a new process, right? Now, myself being a Scrum Master and Agile Delivery Manager, when you introduce a new process and the team's trying something new, we need a touch point for us to review that new process. So I would actually recommend having a retrospective after a couple of weeks and seeing, what works for everyone as a team. From working from home and adopting this new kind of process, what can we do to kind of tweak things to make things better within the team? So I think having that touch point and giving everyone that kind of forum to be open and to give their feedback on it, I think is key. And I think on top of having a retrospective, having one-to-ones is also key. So for myself, I really enjoy having one-to-ones, whether it be going for a coffee to speak to a dev or whatever it is. Now that we're at home, just scheduling in a 10 to 15-minute call with, everyone in your team every now and then. We'll just kind of check in and see how they're doing and seeing what kind of ways you can help them, what advice you can give them. And just to gain better insight into how they're coping with this kind of new kind of scenario we're in with working from home. I think the one-to-ones and retrospectives would be really, really key to get that feedback and to kind of exchange ideas with this kind of new process. So that's my thoughts.
Okay. Thanks, Kieran.
Yeah, actually, I mean, like building on what Debbie and Annie said, like it's actually a really good point, especially the number of one-to-ones I've been able to have. I think like not commuting has really increased the amount of time I have every day just to have meetings. So I'm like a lot of one-on-one meetings, not just with like people that I'm working with on projects, but also like people that could be mentoring me, that I can give value to, potential new clients, and like that's one aspect. But also like one thing like Debbie was talking about was engineers. Like, of course, if you're just mainly using GitHub for the purpose of like using like basically versioning code and like you're already like having your Slack channel set up, then obviously working from home might actually increase efficiency, especially when you consider that a lot of developers are really introverted anyway. But then if you're talking about a completely different type of organization, that's like a students union or some kind of media agency, and a lot of their project management is based on just like checking up in person, having group meetings. Like there's a huge drop in productivity. And I mean, the problem is mainly transitioning people to those tools, right? It's like the things that Enu was saying, having a forum, right? I feel like that's a huge problem for organizations which have no idea how to work from home. They have no idea how to set up that forum what's the etiquette for having one-on-one meetings. Like, I feel like that's a huge issue that a lot of organizations are facing right now.
Yes, I agree. I think a lot of people are still kind of not aware that there's a shift going from office environment and office communication to remote communication, and how do you approach people. Like, for example, you in office, you can run into someone in the corridor and it's like, oh hey, blah blah blah, whatever. But how do you structure the things that would not fall through the cracks now that you're not in the office? So one of the questions is, and this is for everybody, how would you, I need to phrase this properly, how would you communicate clearly with everybody so everybody's on point, but you still keep your one-on-ones, and then how do you include everybody into everything digitally, like online, right? So is it keeping everything in Slack, but it can get lost? Is it writing it in tickets? What about, like, how do you make sure that everybody's aware where we are at every point? Okay, Debbie raised her hand first.
So many things to click. So again, I'm not an engineer. We're a UX and CX agency. So one of the key tools that I use is teamwork.com. It's definitely not perfect UX, but it's a great tool. We also have Slack. So to me, it depends on a couple of things. So in Teamwork, it's got tasks and task progress, and I have all of my staff log their hours there, and they can put in how far they've gone on a certain task. For some of the bigger projects, we might switch to Aha. So that's even a bigger, more expensive program. But Teamwork is great. So depending upon what the message is that I'm trying to get out to everybody, that might be a Teamwork message, which goes up in the Teamwork system and it gets emailed to everybody. It's a competitor to like Basecamp and some of the other ones you guys have mentioned. If it's a little bit more in the moment, it's something I can send out to Slack. If it's something that I want to be a little more persistent, where people will be able to find it later, search for it later, refer to it later, sometimes Slack is a little bit tough for that. And if it's important to be threaded but linear, I might put it in Teamwork. So depending upon what it is, a lot of stuff we do in Teamwork until we can afford Aha. And so I would say that's a good place, because again, that's more of a project management system. And so anybody can go into it, including the clients hypothetically, and see our progress on different things. So that's a little bit about our communication and our progress.
Okay, thank you. Kieran, you raised your hand or you didn't lower your hand? Is it okay? It's okay, cool. So nobody raised their hands. Cool. I never heard of Aha. Any raised his hand. Okay, Any, you're cool. Go Any. I will.
Sorry.
It's fine. No, don't be sorry.
Yeah. So I was just gonna say, a really cool tool that I've used before is Miro. So obviously doing retrospectives from home can be quite difficult to kind of have that forum where everyone has a whiteboard and everyone's seeing it move in real time. But Miro is a really, really cool tool where everyone can just log into, and then you can put your little post-its on the whiteboard and everyone can see it in real time, and anyone can have access to do that. So I think that's a really, really cool tool that I use, that I'd really recommend actually.
Miro is really great. It's basically a virtual endless whiteboard space, and there are a couple of tools like that. I'll link them actually on our page so people can find them. Before we continue, I just want to say that we passed 1 hour mark at this point, and if anybody needs to go or Debbie wants to go to sleep, I know. So let's use this as like a point where I know Debbie wants to speak about a couple of stuff, and then everybody, if you have like any closing words or anything you want to add up, and then whoever wants to stay can stay, and we can just be a little bit more relaxed and just talk about other stuff. So please, Debbie, mic is yours.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, so I guess this is like everybody's goodbye. So I had barely introduced myself at the beginning because Tom was like, oh, don't pitch too hard, don't sell too hard, and so I barely introduced myself at the beginning. I didn't know that, so I went first, and then everyone had like the 12-inch dance mix version of who they were. So, the disco club version. So I just wanted to quickly say that people can find out more about me at deltacx.com. That's my agency and my world. I do a mountain of podcasting. You can find my YouTube channel at deltacx.tv. And of course, for those of you who are bored and being locked down, the Delta CX book available on Amazon. But otherwise, everybody find me please on LinkedIn as Deb. Hey, Tom's got one. He's a beautiful person. I owe you lunch when we're all seeing humans again.
Yeah.
So, and I always like to say, come to Italy and visit me, but not right now. And other than that, if anybody has any CX or UX needs, if you engineers need a UX partner, I would love to talk to you guys about projects. There's always more we could be doing for and with you. So thanks for letting me give a little extra plug. Good night.
No worries. Good night, Debbie. Bye.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Enjoy.
Anybody else want to go? Yes? No? Raise your hand. Priya, okay, you go.
Hi, I have a meeting at 8
It's fine. Yeah.
with one of my clients. I'm so sorry, I have to leave. And the only thing I want to say at this point is be mindful of your health. Try to separate your personal and professional life. It's very easy to cross that line and blur the boundaries when you're working at home. So please be mindful of your mental health. And if you need any help to personalize your space or anything to do with the product development side of things, please do contact me. With my same name on LinkedIn, you can find me on WhatsApp as well, and any proper channel to communicate.
I will share everybody's contact info everywhere once we're done. So probably tomorrow. So I'm gonna put it on all of the videos. Everybody has their email, and I'm gonna tweet and put it online. So whoever wants to contact whoever, everybody's gonna be available.
Cool.
And who's not already registered to the Slack, please register. Everybody's there. So
cool. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No,
Bye.
Thank you for being here. Bye.
Thanks.
Who's next? Kieran raised his hand. Oh my man.
Hey, so basically, actually, me and Supriya and a group of others, we were actually working on the Techstars Startup Weekend in London, which is like a 3-day hackathon. It was supposed to be in August, but now, obviously, it's an event with physical people, so, not sure what's going to happen with that. And so we decided to basically take all our constructive energy and put it into something which could actually help people. So right now, Tom knows what we're working on. So, right now, we were going to call it Remocate. The idea is that we somehow consult and give small businesses who are really in need of the right tools. We kind of suggest them the right tools that they could use based on our research into lesser known tools. So right now we're working with Tom and his Remote Heroes kind of platform to kind of get that out. And if you're interested in just talking to me and the rest of the Remocate team just about what would be good for you in particular, go to www.remocate.com. So that's REMOCATE.com, and you can book a free introductory call, and me and two of the rest of the team will be there, and we'll just sit down with you and spend space for 20 minutes, kind of go, yeah, you should use this tool, you should use this tool, and it's the least that we could do just to help small businesses in the community. If you could help just one or two of those, it would literally mean the world to me to have some kind of contribution in this crisis.
Great, amazing. Great effort. I'm so happy that you guys reached out, and everything I'm doing in the past week or so is to help in this crisis. So I think everything's welcome. So yeah, thanks. Anybody else? Mario's just laughing. No?
No, I'm actually really happy to hear about such initiatives existing. So great job.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's least we can do. We have this experience that we can use and share. There are people who are using this time to, sell their snake oil. So I think that it needs to be a couple of more people who are willing to help in crisis. There will come a time where we can still work and make money and whatever. But at this point, if we manage to save a couple of businesses, it's gonna be great for everybody. Roman, you were next, and then Annie.
Yeah, I also want to say my goodbyes. I have to go and make dinner for the folk that are staying in Corona self-isolation with me. It's our second week and almost coming to an end without any major issues so far. And I know it's pretty difficult for most of the people that are transitioning now from an on-site environment to a remote environment. If you need any help, I'm sure Tom is going to share all of our LinkedIn's and contacts. Feel free to reach out at any point. We have survived here in Croatia a meteorite. We're surviving a plague. We had 50-something earthquakes in the past 3 days. So, guys, come on. I think we can all do it together, and we'll be more than happy to help with advice, helping you test out or suggest various tools, and making sure that everything goes fine. So thank you, Tom, for inviting me, and
thank you.
I hope you all enjoy working remotely.
Well, we will. I actually got a couple of emails from people asking. So what I'm gonna do, hopefully tomorrow, I will build a just basic contact form where people can send in their questions, and then I'm going to share with everybody, and maybe build out a FAQ or something where people can...
or organize a Slack channel where people can...
Yeah, Slack channel is already there, so
awesome.
So I'm urging people to join, but not everybody's using Slack, I know, so maybe create like a page with, it's like a first contact resource where they can get a lot of questions answered, and then whoever wants to join in is more than welcome. And David and me.
I think it's the first thing people should do. Install Slack, start using Slack. It's free, it's awesome, it's the best communication channel since the beginning of this world. And you can check the sanity of the stock market by looking at how Slack is going up and down these days.
Okay, I don't even want to watch the stock market at the moment, but it's a whole different topic. So, but yeah.
You didn't sell on time. That's your problem.
Oh, I did. Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Roman, for joining, and enjoy your dinner. And hopefully we will have an opportunity to do this again soon. So we'll see how it goes. Roman left. Annie, go, man.
Hey, I was just gonna say, just in terms of my little contribution during these testing times, I've got a friend who owns a recruitment company, and one of the things he's doing is during this time, anyone who may have lost their job or is struggling to find work during these times, he's actually going to be working with his business partner to fix up CVs, work with people to kind of give tips towards their CV building, and hopefully will increase their chances of getting another role. And that's going to be all free of charge during this period. So yeah, if anyone is in that predicament, just give me a shout and I'll connect you to my friend.
If you can tell him to write maybe an article, like best practices of how to approach writing a good CV, and then we can share it on our site, and I would be more than happy to share, and then people can reach out to him if they have more questions.
Cool.
So if he can create like a tutorial or whatever, I'm gonna post it there, and it's gonna be great.
Cool, we'll do.
Cool. Yeah, that's gonna be amazing. Anybody else? We are down to 6. No? Yeah? I'm asking you because if I start talking, we're never going to leave. So, it's just...
Oh, yeah, I'm out.
Oh, you're out? Okay, sorry, Yanni. Peace. Thanks.
I'm joking. When I heard you say you're going to start talking, I was like, oh, that's my chance.
Yeah. No, really, guys, thank you for joining. It was... I know that it was on a short notice, and I was trying to get everybody to share what we have. It's been over an hour now, and we basically scratched the surface. So hopefully we can continue this conversation in a day or so, or a couple of days. Hopefully we're gonna get some great feedback. I think people will have use for stuff like this in coming weeks and months. Who knows how the thing's gonna look like. So. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for taking the time, and thank you for sharing, and thank you for engaging and not being selfish and helping people. Yes. And I think the world needs more people like this. So yeah, thanks. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Anybody else want to add anything at the end? Want to do a shameless plug? I know Željka has a kid's book. And Željka actually has a great idea. And while we're here, Mario is a great person to share your idea about managing kids. So we can do this once we go off the air. So I don't want to share your idea live to the internet, but hang back and we can discuss that a little bit. And whoever wants to stay in and help Željka shape her idea, I think it's going to be useful. But for now, I'm just going to say thanks to everybody who joined in live and whoever's watching this in days to come. Thank you for spending the time. I'm going to close the live now and then we can just continue. So yes, thank you and good night.